Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I am your host, Connor, joined by my fellow co-host, Liam.
Hello.
And Guy.
Dude, oh, come on!
You alright, Guy? What's wrong?
Oh. Dude, I'm trying to complete this challenge and I messed up, so I'm gonna have to restart again.
What challenge are you doing?
I've been trying to no-hit Elden Ring, all of it. All of the Elden Lords, everything. But I keep getting hit.
Guy, you realize you could just not do that, right? You could just save yourself from the anger and the challenge and just stop.
Don't care. No, Connor. I have to do this because I've been declared as the best Souls player of the Fetch Quest podcast, so my honor fucking depends on it. So if I don't do it, then my crown won't be firm on my head, man. So I have to do it, even if it is making my enjoyment of the game lessen. But that comes in today's episode. We are going to be talking about self-imposed challenges for video games. What are they? Why do people do them, and the rise of them in current media with YouTube challenges. All talked about in today's episode and more. Hi guys, we're talking about self-imposed challenges. The podcast is a self-imposed challenge that we do all the time because of our time, the precious time we have on Earth. Isn't that so awesome?
I would never describe this as a self-imposed challenge, and yeah.
Yeah, because okay. The thing is, it's awesome to do. So like,
It's
the only thing limit.
It's awesome.
What's up?
It's awesome when our recording software wants to work.
Yeah.
But when it doesn't,
Oh god.
it's really stinky.
Yeah, for context, this is our second take of the video. We had like one where it was like halfway done, and then for some reason Riverside just decided to like not work at all, like completely like booted us out of our recording session, and oh my god, we had such good content on there. But that's why we're doing this right now.
And I'm here this time.
Yeah.
Yay!
And now we have Fetch Quest Lost Media.
Whoa.
Dude, that's crazy. Oh
Alright,
my god. But getting into today's topic.
So as you said earlier, Guy, today's video we're doing self-imposed challenges, and I think we should, explain what those are before we go in deeper.
Would you like me to do it, or would someone else like to?
I can do it.
Go for it.
Alright, so if you couldn't tell by the name, a self-imposed challenge when it comes to video games is a challenge that you, the player, put on yourself in order to make the game more challenging, or just to change it up. There are multiple examples across like various different games and stuff like that. You've got the classics such as like nuzlockes and stuff for Pokémon. You've got no-hit runs. Like for like Souls series games or just generally hard games. And then you've got
no jump Mario games, which are fucking insane.
You've got the sort of genre of like, can you beat blank without doing blank? Can you beat Mario without jumping? Can you beat like any platformer without getting a collectible? Can you beat like Persona 5 Royal while using the worst persona or something like that?
Basically, like, the self-imposed challenge, like, the idea of it is basically like an endless concept with what you can do with it, because so many gamers have found ways to just make, like, an additional challenge for themselves while playing a video game. Like, one of my favorite self-imposed challenge videos I think I've ever seen is, can I beat Dark Souls 1 by fighting the bosses alphabetically? And the amount of glitches I witnessed in the self-imposed challenge to try and beat every single boss like by alphabetical order of their name was insane. But that's the kind of stuff that like people do. This is like a really big like content farm thing for like a lot of gamers as well. Is that like people will watch this because like they want to know how is it possible or if it's possible. And I think it's also a big reason as to why like we're covering it today, because like there's just been such a big rise of it in the past few years.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I've seen more content about it now than ever, especially I don't personally do that many self-imposed challenges, but I love watching them. There are very famous ones, like a nuzlocke, or like a no-hit run, mostly from Souls games, but like any game can have a no-hit run. I mean, technically, if you think about it, speedruns are self-imposed challenges too. So it's
That is true because you're trying to like break the limits of the game to see how fast you can run. Yeah,
because
or not run, but how fast you can beat it. Yeah.
like I mean, you're not playing the game intended. You're making the game harder because you want to push yourself and the game to its limit. But like games, there's so many different like self-imposed challenges you can do. It can be like a silly controller. It can be a bunch of caveats where if you do this, you lose, or it could be like a permadeath when there's no permadeath in the game, that kind of stuff. It's all dependent on what your perceived level of difficulty would be, because some people, they go crazy. They have like 20 different challenges stacked on top of each other, and then other people will just never think about it because the game is difficult enough for them as it is.
Yeah, no, that's a real thing though. Is that like I also think like a big that is something I want to bring up. I think a big appeal as to why the content farm for like um for self-imposed challenges has exploded is because people don't want to do it themselves, but they want to see if it's possible. You know what I mean? Because it's probably like occurred in the back of their head of like, can I do this, or should this be able to happen?
True.
Yeah, like Souls games in particular. I also think a big part of that was because Elden Ring was such a big success that like a lot of challenge runs for Elden Ring started to come out, and especially since like a lot of exploits for that game were becoming very apparent as the game was like getting more and more popular on YouTube and other spaces. So like self-imposed challenges just became like a massive thing, and also like you said, Liam, like speedrunning itself is also kind of like a self-imposed challenge, and I also feel like that goes into like a lot of 3D platformers as well. Like, dude, there are so many self-imposed challenges for Super Mario 64 that like I can't even begin to think of, and it's just because of how like easy it is to break that game and like go through walls and shit. And it's so interesting to see stuff from games like that, especially like older games as well.
And the thing with like all of these types of games is that these challenges have been popularized and streamlined because of the internet. And like especially with like older games or Souls games, they do very well in terms of like YouTube content, because people love seeing these like self-imposed challenges that these people put on themselves in order to like make a game and push a game to the hardest it can be. Or like some of like the most successful videos in terms of like gaming are self-imposed challenges. There's entire channels built around making self-imposed challenges, and it's all about like pushing someone to the brink in terms of like how far they can go in a specific game or a specific category, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and that's just like it really has become like a really big part of just like video game YouTube in particular. But I do wanna move away from this a little bit because we've been talking about it for a little bit. But like I want to talk about some of our favorite like self-imposed challenges, because there's a lot to pick from, and I do have a personal favorite, and I think it might be the same as Connor's. But we will see as it goes on. Boys, I want to ask. I know Liam. I know you said you don't really do a lot of like self-imposed challenges, but I just want to know like what's your favorite one to at least watch?
To watch, I really like
Watch or at least did.
I really like taking Mario or like 3D platform games and making like the currency an obstacle. Like my favorite video I've ever watched was Can You Beat Sly Cooper Without Collecting Coins? I've never done it myself because it sounds like absolute hell, but it's all about like breaking the intended mechanics of the game, because the whole point of like the coins are to be like a a guide to how to go through the level, but then whenever you are trying to avoid that, the way you're supposed to do the level suddenly becomes harder, and you have to find like a lot of harder ways in order to like go through a level, and most of the time it ends up with glitches, which is awesome. I love glitches, they're funny.
Dude, so true.
But yeah, that's my favorite self.
What about you, Connor?
Challenge. Sorry, real quick. In terms of self-imposed
No, you're
challenges,
good.
I've only really done one big one, and that was I didn't ever use Spirit Ashes in Elden Ring because I just didn't wanna. And that was the entire reason. I was just like, I want to fight the boss myself. I don't want help, and so that's what I did.
Fair enough. What about you, Connor?
My favorite type of challenge runs that I do, probably nuzlocke. Just because, like, to me, they're the most entertaining and the most, like, possible. Because as long as you can just play fairly well, like, because, like, Pokemon games aren't as hard as, like, even with a nuzlocke, they aren't super hard. Um, not like something like a Elden Ring challenge run, which would, like, take a huge amount of time and be really difficult. And so it's just, like, really easy to get it out of the way and stuff like that. I used to do a bunch of nuzlocke when I was had more time when I was a little younger. But nowadays I'm just so busy that I just don't have time to go back and replay them to do that.
No, that's fair, man. That's fair. I also really love Nuzlocke. Those are, in fact, my favorite types of challenge runs, just because like it makes a previous game that's like pretty easy, all things considered, and adds like a new layer of challenge to it and a new layer of investment that like I really can't get from a base game. And I just, oh god, I love like the stakes that are at hand. It's like you make a mistake and you can lose the Pokemon like forever in that run, and that's just something I love doing because it just means that like every single action that you have has a consequence, and I just think that is so like fun to think about.
Exactly.
Because like let's be real, Pokemon, like especially nowadays, has like little to no stakes. If you lose, oh, you lose like $1,000. Okay, cool. But it's like your Pokemon still gain experience from the Pokemon they've already defeated. You're still getting IVs, not IVs. You're still getting EVs from each defeated Pokemon. You're still getting stronger. You know what I mean? It's not like there's no real roadblock. But it's like with Nuzlocke, everything is a roadblock, and I fucking love that.
I mean, personally, I
Um,
haven't done any
yeah.
Nuzlocke, but they do seem like the most interesting way to play the game because, like, it's an interesting way of taking a game very clearly meant for children and making it enjoyable for a like more advanced player.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, we haven't even explained what a Nuzlocke is. For those who don't know what a Nuzlocke is, basically it's a self-imposed challenge from Pokemon that originated from a user who like had Nuzleaf as his PFP. I don't know his specific like username, but basically how it works is you're only allowed to catch the first Pokemon you encounter on every route. If sometimes if it's a duplicate mon, you're not allowed to catch it. There's some people who are like stingy about it, some who are not. But basically, you can only catch the first Pokemon of each route. You have to nickname them so that you become more attached to them. But the real challenge of it is that if the Pokemon faints, you can no longer use it for the rest of the playthrough, no matter what. They
Yeah.
pretty much like die. And that's what people love about Nuzlocke is that it gets you attached to your Pokemon more than what you probably usually are used to. I'm gonna be real, past few Pokemon games, I have not felt invested in any of my Pokemon, which is complete contrary to when I played Pokemon as a kid, where I would get really attached to these creatures. Um, but Nuzlocke are basically they're supposed to like invest you more into the Pokemon that you're playing with, and that's what I love about it.
Exactly. That's why I like them too. I also like how adaptable I guess the type of gameplay is, because you can do it in like almost anything. Um, like if you wanted to do an Elden Ring Nuzlocke, you could do it to where like when you die, you can't use the equipment you have on anymore. Um, and you could just keep cycling through stuff like that. Or like my favorite version of it is the light lock, which is for Smash Bros Ultimate's story mode, where you essentially, if you lose, um you just can't use the character that you were playing as anymore, and the whole goal is just to beat the game.
Yeah, see, that's cool because uh, I'm gonna be real. World of Light in in Ultimate is just kind of boring, but like with that, it actually like gives you consequence for like being a dumbass. You know what I mean?
True.
Because like let's be real, World of Light is not that hard. It's not the worst, but Light Lock on the other hand, ooh, that could be stinky. Ooh, you might lose. Ooh,
Exactly.
oh, but that's also just. But like one thing that like we've been talking about a lot is just that like these self-imposed challenges just kind of make you more invested into the game most of the time. I feel like there are just some, there's probably some self-imposed challenges out there that just like completely take you out of the game. Like I'm thinking of one right now. I've seen a video on it before, but it's like, can you beat Spider-Man PS4 without swinging? It's like I imagine that would kill your entire enjoyment of the game if you did that.
Yeah, because it's taking a core mechanic of the game and just being like, nope, you don't get that. You don't get to have fun anymore with that thing.
That would sound so awful to do if you were to like try to beat that game with no fucking swinging, because like you said, it's a core mechanic, and it's also like I'm gonna be real, swinging is also I think the most fun part about the Spider-Man games because it's so fluid and it feels so good.
It's also like his big thing. It's like one of the main reasons people would pick up that game is because they're like, I get to be Spider-Man and swing around New York, and you're just like, what if I couldn't do that? Or what if I
Oh,
couldn't?
dude, that'd be so
It's
funny.
basically just a big what if, and that's how they start. You just go, what if I couldn't do this and still try and beat the game? Like, what if I couldn't accelerate in Mario Kart and still get first place? I have seen that, and it is really funny.
Wait, that's a thing.
Yeah, they play the entire game in reverse.
Oh, dude, that sounds amazing. Actually, oh my god,
And
why have I never heard of that before? Actually, dude, if you can send me a link to that video, I'd actually watch that immediately after this recording. That sounds fire.
like the whole thing is like it's just so funny. Uh, and like it's such an insane thing that people love to do. It's so funny.
No, it really is. Like, there's you first.
And um it just makes it so much more interesting to like us like most of the time, because like people are crazy. They're gonna make hard games harder, but I think it's way more interesting to make an easy game hard, because like making a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring harder, there are people who think can like have played enough Dark Souls and Elden Ring where they are like, oh, this is an easy game now. I've understood all the mechanics, where it's like they need to push that higher. But but more like children-oriented game, or those easier types of games, it's all about taking something meant for children and then just being like, you know what? What if we made it where it children would never attempt this, like beating Mario Sunshine without FLUDD. That's such a stupid thing, because you're taking a core gameplay mechanic out and going, I'm still gonna beat the game. It's so silly.
There are some levels of Sunshine that actually take away flood, so I'm interested to see how like those mechanics would be like just put into like the game itself. That oh, dude, that sounds so funny. I
I'm
know
also
Connor has some thoughts on
it's
Super Mario Sunshine.
it's an awesome video. I will also send
Dude,
it to you.
dude, thank you so much. Connor, you should also probably watch that video. I know you're a big fan of Super Mario Sunshine. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, your favorite Mario game?
No,
What? What I thought it was.
no, my favorite is Galaxy.
Why did I think it was Sunshine?
Because you like to rage bait me because you know I don't like Sunshine all that much.
Wait, you don't like Sunshine?
I think it has a lot of flaws. I don't think it's bad. But I just think that it is overhyped and is not that good.
Dude, that's a self-imposed challenge you just put on yourself. Can I
Self-imposed-
survive 2025 without getting death threats?
True.
Dude, wait. Oh my, dude, everything if you think about it is a self-imposed challenge. Dude,
Exactly.
me living every day is a self-imposed challenge.
Exactly. Me
And
being
Dude, why is
and
that?
And so far, I'm thriving because there's always it's a self-inflicted challenge where I could just not live, but I choose every day to
It's
go
also a
Dude, that's
self-imposed.
crazy.
It's
to,
also
to
a
wake up.
self-imposed challenge to be friends with Guy.
Can I go?
Dude, that's a hard one. That's a hard one.
1 decade while being friends with Guy without being put in a mental asylum.
Connor so far is teaming on the edge.
It's true.
I'm fine. What do you mean?
What do you mean? You were just telling me how much you love Sunshine.
You're right. I was.
Oh my god. But yeah, no, that's got okay. Like we meme about that, but like low key, there's just a lot you can do in video games to like kind of just make it a self-imposed challenge, even if it's like not that big. Like Liam, I know you were talking about this before we even started recording. How like you played through all of Expedition 33 without dodging, which isn't even like that big of a self-imposed challenge, but it is technically a self-imposed challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of reasons for why like people do self-imposed challenge. For me, it was simple as I like the parry. I was like, I want to learn this parry mechanic, so I'm not gonna let myself dodge. So I have to learn it, and then I got really good at it.
No, that's fair. And like also going back to what you said about like the spirit summons in Elden Ring, I technically also don't like use that self-imposed challenge of like I don't use spirit summons, but also it's like when I play Elden Ring, I'm not actively thinking about the spirit summons, so it's like to be fair, it is technically a self-imposed challenge, but I really don't think that it is one to me because it's something I'm just not thinking about actively. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, you saw that you could, and you just did. It is a thing of like, I didn't use buffs, I didn't use this, I didn't use that, just because I didn't feel like it. So like, there is a point where you have to make like a genuine distinction between just not using mechanics and doing a self-imposed challenge where like for you that might not have been a self-imposed challenge, you just didn't use the mechanic because you didn't think about it,
Because I just didn't think about it. Yeah.
or like using the grease in Elden Ring. I didn't use any grease, not because it was a self-imposed challenge, just because like I didn't care to. Or like
See, that's kind of like where we should like you first.
or like in Expedition 33, I just wanted to learn a mechanic. It wasn't really like a conscious decision where I'm not gonna dodge. It was more so just of like I'm gonna learn this mechanic and nothing's gonna stop me. And so I just stopped using a different mechanic because I just wanted to get good at a different one.
That's true. And also, shout outs to a friend of ours who's playing Elden Ring right now. He technically if you want to get technical, this is kind of a self-imposed challenge, but he's not going to consider it because it's just something he's just not using. One of our friends is playing Elden Ring currently, and we told him about this weapon that he got that we objectively is a little better than what he's using, but he doesn't want to use it because he's already played with it before. So it's like, does that make it a self-imposed challenge? Even is it a self-imposed challenge, or is it just something that he wants to use more variety for? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
No, a self-imposed challenge, I think, has to be deliberate.
That's completely fair. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that because it's like there's so many like technicals that you could put with a self-imposed challenge, but I do like I agree with you. It has to be like deliberate. I feel to like truly count as one.
Yeah, no, it's a thing of like a self-imposed challenge is something that you spend time thinking about ways to like actively avoid it. And there's also just like not using a mechanic because you just don't want to. It's not. They're very different. Where like a nuzlocke, you're very purposefully trying to catch one Pokemon. If it dies, you have to let it go. You can only you can have like level caps. That's very deliberate. But like if I boot up, if I boot up Baldur's Gate 3 and I don't use all my companions just because I forgot about them or something like that, that's very different.
True.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's just a real thing. But like, I think we're getting to that point with the video where it's like we're getting to our closing points. But like, just to end off this little discussion we're having now, I do really like that you brought up that like it does need to be deliberate because like that is just something that like you made me really think about it with like your comment on saying that living life is a self-imposed challenge because it's like, is it really a self-imposed challenge if we're just not consciously thinking about it being a challenge, or are we just doing it because we have to? You know what I mean? That's a philosophical question that will leave you guys on.
That's.
But yeah, no.
We'll have to answer individually.
Exactly. But I think we're getting to that point of the end of the video where we give our closing thoughts and our final goodbyes. Who would like to start off?
I can.
Go for it, Liam.
I think that self-imposed challenges are very cool. I'm probably not ever gonna do them myself just because most games I play are hard enough on their own. And the easy games I usually play because they're easy. But I love watching them. I love seeing like storylines about making a challenge and overcoming it. It's a very good storyline, and that's why I'm part of the YouTube. I'm a YouTube shill when it comes to can you beat this? Can you beat this without this? It's all self-imposed, but it's awesome to watch people make challenges and then overcome them, and that's why I like them.
Dude, so real. Connor.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Would you like me to go, or do you want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
So my opinion on self-imposed challenges is that I think they're really cool things. I obviously like to do them as well. I've nuzlocked. I've wanted to try more self-imposed challenges if I ever go back and replay games and stuff like that. And I think it's some of the most interesting and potentially creative content you can get for like doing video games and stuff like that. I used to watch a bunch of Elden Ring challenge runs, and a few months ago after I beat Cuphead, or not a few months ago, after I beat Cuphead about, I want to say a month and a half ago maybe, I got really into watching a bunch of Cuphead challenge runs. And I think it's just a really cool thing that you can do to just make a game more fun on replay and to give yourself a little challenge. And I think, and I'm really glad that they're getting a lot more popular as time goes on.
No, real, man, real. Yeah, no, that is something to like think about those. That like they're getting more popular as time goes on. I think that's also just because like social media is getting bigger, and I feel like the variety of games to do challenges with is also like getting larger. So like it just means that like more people are finding ways to break their video games. I think that's awesome. Which kind of leads into my concluding points of like self-imposed challenges are so fun to watch. They're fun to do. When I've done them, I think they're very fun to do. I think that like honestly with self-imposed challenges, it's just kind of like even if it's not the developer's intent for you to play the game in this certain way, I do think it is like a good question to ask, like, did the developers create the game in a way where this is possible without like key features or mechanics? Because sometimes like some games implore you to break them and like do them in completely wild ways that maybe not everyone thinks. Like a good example is like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. There's so many ways to solve every single puzzle. There are like 20 solutions for like every single solution. There's 20 solutions for every one problem in that game. And I just think like stuff like that is also very fun to do in terms of like self-imposed challenge, but then it's also just equally as fun to see stuff that you think might be impossible, like I said, Mario games without jumping or something like that, or hell, even Mario Kart without accelerating. Like that's so cool to think about. But I just think it's a very fun thing to engage in. I just also like love asking the questions about these games of is it possible with this in mind. But with that being said, guys, one thing you should keep in mind is if you're subscribed to the channel, if you want to see more content and like this and you want to see more of it, please hit that like and subscribe button. Please drop in the comment section what your favorite self-imposed challenge is and what self-imposed challenges you may have potentially done. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. We've been Fetch Quest, and this has been our episode on self-imposed challenges. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye bye!